Are some classic anime from the 80s too old to get a remake? Of course they aren't. But actually some people at Comic Book Resources seem to think so. So let's have a look together and see what they have to say. So we're here over at CBR, or Comic Book Resources, and they have an interesting article. Well, interesting, a little bit of an odd article, I would say. Are some anime too old to get the reboot treatment? I wouldn't know why, because, you know, we have plenty of classic, beautiful stories in anime from the late 70s, even the 80s, whether it be in anime form, whether it be in manga form. So many great series. Why would we not get a remake? So let's have a look at why they think that seems to be an issue. So older anime like Urusei Yatsura might benefit from a reboot, but only if the material that didn't age too well can be handled respectably. That seems a bit odd. I didn't see anything in Urusei Yatsura that would have aged or not aged too well, or need to be handled respectably. Well, respectably, of course, they need to stay close to the original. Yeah, that of course, but let's have a look what they mean with all of that. So, Urusei Yatsura's reboot recently began airing. Yeah, we know. Plenty of older fans are excited to see this classic. I was very excited to see it as well. Very happy even. Others, however, are worried about how newer anime fans will react because of how old it is. Don't see an issue there, but okay. As entertaining as Urusei Yatsura can be, some of its material, themes and characters might not work with modern sensibilities. Oh, there we go. Modern sensibilities. Yeah, I think I know where they're going with this article. It's going to be a hoot, and I'm going to probably be able to call them a bunch of idiots. Let's have a look. So the question of what to do about this kind of controversial and explicit content, well, come on, man. There's nothing controversial about Urusei Yatsura. It's a fun series. It's a fun story. There's lots of laughs, a lot of references to Japanese culture. Here and there we have some sexiness in it. Yeah, sure, why not? We got plenty of sexiness in current day media, so why wouldn't we get it there? I don't see an issue. So anyway, they continue. The larger question if the anime can be rebooted. It's a conflict between representing a faithful adaptation and altering the material to better fit the changing times and standards. Now, I don't know where this person lives or what his or her standards are, but my standards are I just want to see a fun anime. That's it. And I'm not a snowflake. They can show me some violence. They can show me some nudity. I can pretty much handle it. And let me tell you, I can handle it now, and I could perfectly handle it as a child in the 80s. So I don't see an issue there as well. So this question is especially difficult with anime, as most series try to adhere as closely as possible to the source material. Yeah, of course, they have to. That's great. If too many changes need to be made, it can bring into question whether there was even a point to an adaptation. So while there I agree. I think when you do an adaptation of a classic like Urusei Yatsura, well, you need to respect the original content, and you need to try to stay close enough to the original as possible. So what are the problems with old anime? To clarify, it's not as though Japan is against the idea of showing explicit content. If the target audience is right, then an anime is free to have all the gore and sex that it wants. Well, I agree there, of course. In this regard, series like Devilman Crybaby and Hellsing Ultimate are perfectly fine as they are. The audiences they are aimed at can handle it. Okay, yeah, sure. With that said, what can be shown to general audiences, I don't know what they understand with general audiences, but I guess people young and old alike, I guess, is much different from what it used to be, really. Really? I didn't get the memo. Have times changed? I mean, why wouldn't we be able to see the same things that we saw in the 80s? I mean, I don't see the point of this. It's no longer okay to show women's nipples. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what it says. It's no longer okay to show women's nipples. I saw plenty of nipples in, let's say, Game of Thrones. No issue there. Plenty of nudity and sex there. And I can assure you, it wasn't just adults who watched the series. There were children watching it as well. Even though it was perhaps not aimed at them, they were watching it. or excessive violence to such audiences. Violence, yeah. That former point is especially relevant with Urusei Yatsura. The original anime had no problem with Lum's breast being on full display. Yeah, sure, why not? On top of that, it's a drawn boob. So this person here, I don't know who this idiot is. We're going to have a look later on. But apparently this, sorry for the expression, but this idiot feels it's an issue to show a drawn boob. Not even a real one, a drawn boob. Cause for concern, apparently. So I don't know how sensitive this person here is, but obviously pretty sensitive. I think the word snowflake comes to mind here. So let's continue. It's like that other older series that used to show nipples, like Ranma Nibunoichi from the same author, or Fist of the North Star, Hokuto no Ken for the fans. Couldn't get away with that as today either. Why not? Was perfectly fine in the 80s. It's perfectly fine now. So, in that regard, let me say, those that have been watching my videos know I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. I grew up with a lot of classic anime, and I've watched a lot of them as I was growing up. So, in my early development ages, I would say, my teenage years, even before that, I watched a lot of anime. Some of it had plenty of nudity and gore in it. Depends what you define with gore, but I watched Hokuto no Ken as I was like, 7, 8 years old, something like that. So you had blood splattering all over the screen, you had the heads exploding and things like that. I loved it. I really loved it. I really did. And I loved it for the story. And that's the thing this author doesn't seem to be able to get, is that children are not idiots. Children can grasp a lot of deeper story points if you let them. And I was a huge fan of many anime series simply because, and mostly because, of the storytelling that was so wonderful. So Hokuto no Ken, yes, the violence was part of it, but I really enjoyed the story. The story really spoke to me and really grabbed me. And let me tell you, it's up to the parents then to give the children the correct framework, the correct reference, so that they can give that violence a place. I knew that was imaginary. It was an imaginary story. That kind of violence could not happen in real life and should not happen in real life. It was just a story. And even as a child who was 6 years old, I understood that. I don't see an issue with children being presented that kind of material, provided, of course, it's not gratuitous and there's a decent story behind it. I absolutely don't see any issue with that. It's not some kind of splatterhouse or something where it's just violence for the sake of violence and gore for the sake of gore. It's all set in a beautifully written story. I don't see an issue with that. Same thing with Urusei Yatsura. Urusei Yatsura is a beautiful comedy romance, and yeah, you have a naked breast here and there. Okay, cool. Why not? I mean, they're going to see it eventually as they grow up. So I don't see the issue. And the thing is, it's usually authors like these that claim that publishers like Marvel or DC are stunning and brave because they introduce a gay character here or a transgender character there. So if that is okay, and really young people also read those comics, why would a little boob be a problem in an anime? I absolutely don't see the issue here. I really don't. Except, of course, that these people have become incredibly sensitive. And in my opinion, you really, really, really underestimate children if you think they can't handle this. Now, let me tell you, I saw plenty of scenes with nudity and violence in anime growing up. It didn't pose a problem for me. I became a productive member of society. I have YouTube is just a hobby of mine. I have a full-time job. I go to work every day. I was able to find love. I have a wife, a family. We're settled down. We have productive lives. I'm not some kind of maniac running out in the street and trying to make people's heads explode, or trying to see boobs everywhere and pull off bras like we saw with Urusei Yatsura. I didn't turn into some kind of degenerate, Because as I grew up, I loved the stories, and I could give a place to that nudity and violence that was shown. And an important part there was my upbringing, and I really bless my parents and I thank them for taking the time to teach me valuable life lessons and teaching me right from wrong. And that really helped me as a person to become who I am today. Together with valuable life lessons I also learned from anime and manga. They taught me the value of not giving up, of persevering, of believing in yourself, of working hard to better yourself. All these important life lessons, they're all there, incorporated in these stories. And thanks to the fact that I had an upbringing where I had a correct frame of reference, I could give a place to these scenes. I could see that they were just what they are. They're just part of an imaginary story. And I really don't see an issue with that. I really don't. All these anime, they can show them again, they can air them again as far as I'm concerned. Why not? I would even go farther and say that children nowadays need to see these stories. They need to see these stories unaltered for the important life lessons they can teach us. But they are here, this author is just hung up over a hand-drawn boob, apparently. That seems to be a huge issue. I really don't get that. Here he says the real issues, however, are with what kinds of controversial messages and imagery could resurface with a reboot. None. There aren't any. There could be all sorts of instances of racism, sexism, harassment, and other controversial topics. Where? Show me where. Look, here we see a picture from Dragon Ball. Are we supposed to be offended by that? Of course not. It's a story. It's handwritten. It's hand-drawn. What the hell is the issue here? Are people really supposed to be that fragile that they can't handle that? I mean, come on, man, give people some credit. So he continues, these things may have flown under the radar when an anime originally aired, but would likely get called out by modern audiences and critics. Well, let me tell you, as far as I'm concerned, modern audiences and critics can fly to the moon. Yeah, you can quote me on that. They can fly to the moon. Because if you can't handle simple things like that, and the goalposts will keep moving. Today, this is offensive. Tomorrow, something else will be offensive. The goalpost keeps moving, and you already see it very clearly in American culture. You can see lots of things are no longer allowed. Everybody has to be tiptoeing around certain things. Why? Just make a good story. Put whatever in it that you think that you need to put in it. And if people don't like it, well, they're not just going to watch it. That's it. I mean, come on. But such a snowflake, man. It's insane. Such a snowflake. So here he continues. One solution is to remove such controversial content, keeping out racist depictions of black people. I don't know. Do you think it's an issue there? I don't think so. Or the occasional nipple slip. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. These kinds of changes are observable in Dragon Ball franchise. This is technically an ongoing series, but the same principles apply. The changes of seeing a negatively stereotypical black person or Bulma's naked breasts, even for an instant, have dropped to almost nothing. If an old anime like Dragon Ball has these kinds of minor alterations made to it, nobody would mind. I mind. I mind because let creativity be creativity. I mean, that was one of the fun things in Dragon Ball. You know, you had all these wacky, over-the-top characters. I mean, this dude is hung up over the depiction of one black character, right? In a series where we have Namek people running around who have snail antennas and green skin. Yeah. So, what's the issue here? It's a completely imaginary tale. It's an artistic expression. What's the issue here? I mean, give anime, give manga its creative freedom that made it successful in the first place. You're going to neuter it. You're going to neuter the whole anime manga industry if you take that away. Thank God they don't listen to idiots like this one and they just keep producing good anime. I'm very sensitive about this matter because I really do believe that creative freedom should be left alone. Let them make whatever they want to make. Let them write the story they want to write. Let them put in the scenes that they think they need to put in. And if audiences don't like it, well, they're just not going to watch it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. But it's people like this here that will try to force their sensitivities. They're overly sensitive. They're going to try to force it onto us. And this is absolutely not okay. Absolutely not okay. Here he talks a little bit more, of course, like a real snowflake. Would these changes fix the problem in the long term? There isn't even a problem to begin with. I mean, come on, man. What the hell are you on about? So who is the idiot that wrote this? Mark York. Snowflake. Loser snowflake. I'm sorry, but I don't have any other words for this. Just make the fun stories that you want to make. Sensitive material. Come on, man. Grow up. Grow a pair. Hope you enjoyed. See you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell and sound off in the comments. And hey, while you're here, why not check out another video?